What a pleasure it is to be back at home after a long campaign. You know, we started this campaign in British Columbia, and we're finishing this campaign with you here in British Columbia. And once again, what an incredible team of candidates we have. Let's hear it up for Team Trudeau. Thank you so much for stepping up. Thank you so much for being here. It is so good for me to be back here in Vancouver. As you know, I spent many, many years here as a kid, as a young adult, and now as a politician. I keep coming back with my family. I keep appreciating the people here, the land here, and mostly the future we can see from British Columbia. And of course, it's a beautiful Vancouver day for all those visitors. The trick to loving British Columbia, to loving Vancouver, is to make sure a little bit of rain doesn't prevent you from doing anything you were otherwise doing, whether it was voting, make sure we get out and vote in the rain tomorrow, but also, I went out for a run today around English Bay in the rain, and it just grounded me, and being able to see this beautiful ocean, these beautiful mountains, and this beautiful city really inspires me to finish this campaign working hard for everyone. I can't help but be here without thinking of my grandfather, Jimmy Sinclair, who was the Member of Parliament for Coast Capilano, which is now North Van, West Van, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Highway area. He represented this community, this part of the country, with a tremendous passion, and he passed it on to me. And I am so proud to be a grandson of British Columbia, continuing to work hard for you every day. This morning, we started our final day in my grandpa's old riding, just like we ended the campaign 4 years ago in North Vancouver at an incredible rally like this, where we picked to move forward with a different government than what Stephen Harper had delivered us for 10 years. We knew it was time to turn the page on 10 years of cuts, 10 years of underinvestment in infrastructure, 10 years of nickel and diming our veterans, of underinvesting in Canadians and in their families, 10 years of doing nothing to fight climate change. We had had enough. So we made a different choice. We picked a better government, one that was focused on investing in you instead of cutting, in investing in your communities instead of giving tax breaks to the wealthiest, and chose to fight climate change to build a better future, both for the environment and for the economy, because BCers know they go together. And over the past 4 years, that's exactly what we did. Our choice to invest in helping families, to invest in community infrastructure, not only saw the lowest unemployment in over 40 years and the creation of 1.2 million new jobs, most of them full-time, but we also lifted 900,000 Canadians out of poverty, including 300,000 kids. This was something we did together because we knew that confident, positive countries invest in their people. And that was what we demonstrated. We delivered the kind of economic growth that Stephen Harper simply could not, because you can't grow your way to you can't cut your way to prosperity. You can't cut your way to growth. You need to invest. And we get that, and that's what we did, and that's what was successful. And the other thing we did big is we knew that the time had come, the time was long overdue, for Canada to step up in the fight against climate change. And within a few months, we were in Paris making sure that the world moved forward on the historic Paris agreements. Then we brought in a pan-Canadian framework on climate change that applied to all provinces and territories, that followed British Columbia's lead and put a price on pollution right across the country. Because the only way to make sure that we have good jobs in the future, the only way we make sure that our kids and grandkids get to enjoy this extraordinary country that we got to grow up in, is if we are protecting the environment at the same time as we grow the economy. That's why we're banning single-use plastics and phasing out coal. That's why we move forward with a historic oceans protection plan that is world-class to make sure our oceans are protected. But we also recognized that protecting our oceans, protecting our land, wasn't just about investing in more Coast Guard and more partnership with Indigenous communities. It also meant actually protecting more land and more ocean area. So we went from 1% protected coastal and marine areas in 2015. We made a promise that in 5 years, by 2020, we would protect 10% of Canada's coasts and oceans. I have to say, we didn't do that. Instead, in only 4 years, we protected 14%. And we are on our way to 25% and 30% by 2030. We know that protecting our nature is the best way to build not just opportunities and a better future for our kids, but a strong economy as well. But you know who doesn't get that? Andrew Scheer. So not only are we fighting, and have we been fighting against conservative politicians, conservative premiers like Jason Kenney and Doug Ford, who are taking us to court because they want to make pollution free again. We are saying no. Everywhere across the country, we need to fight climate change. But Andrew Scheer has promised that the very first thing he'll do as Prime Minister is rip up the only serious plan to fight climate change that Canada has ever had. Shame on him. Not only is that not the way to protect our kids' future, that's not the way to grow a strong economy either. We need to invest in protecting our environment. We need to invest in new technologies, in the transition to net zero by 2050. These are the things we need to do. These are the things we will do. And the other thing we saw from the Conservatives is they chose not to put out their platform until late in the campaign. Indeed, they waited until late on a Friday night of a long weekend, hoping people wouldn't notice that the only thing in their platform is $53 billion worth of cuts, cuts, cuts. We had enough of cuts under Stephen Harper. We chose instead to move forward with a progressive government that knows that investing in Canadians is the best way to create opportunities and grow the economy for everyone. Mais ça, c'est quelque chose que la Colombie-Britannique sait depuis longtemps, que d'investir dans nos communautés, d'investir pour aider les gens, d'investir pour créer plus de transport collectif, plus de protection pour nos océans. C'est comme ça qu'on crée un monde meilleur. C'est quelque chose que les gens d'ici en Colombie-Britannique comprennent et c'est un message qu'on a pu amener à travers le pays et à travers le monde. We were able to bring that positive message that British Columbians understand that investment and protecting the environment is a great way to build a better society. We did that right across the country and around the world because British Columbia sent strong BCers to be part of a progressive government. And that is the choice once again. Do we move forward with a progressive government, or do you pick a progressive opposition and let Andrew Scheer cut, cut, cut? That's not what we want to do. So that is why the choice we're facing right now is so important. We need British Columbians, and indeed all Canadians, to pull together and choose forward. On le voit à travers le pays, le choix d'un parti progressiste qui veut former un gouvernement, c'est le seul choix pour empêcher les coupures conservatrices, pour continuer de l'action sur les changements climatiques. But you know, we talk about that progressive government an awful lot. What exactly is a progressive government? What did the progressive government do? Well, I'll tell you what's in our progressive government platform. When we see an elderly senior who just lost her partner of 50 years and is mourning and grieving and trying to figure out what her next steps are, trying to figure out how to make ends meet with a suddenly reduced pension, we say we're going to give her more help by increasing survivor benefits so she can succeed and be secure in her future years. A progressive government looks at young people, looks at students, knowing that they need to be able to access quality, affordable post-secondary education, and says, we've done a lot, but we need to do more. So our progressive government is promising that you won't have to pay back your student loans until you're making $35,000 a year. A progressive government recognizes that our decision to give more money to 9 out of 10 families with the Canada Child Benefit, hundreds of dollars a month, tax-free, which has lifted 300,000 kids out of poverty, was a good first step, but we need to do more. So that's why we will be raising the Canada Child Benefit by 15% for babies under 1, because that's when the costs are most steep. These are the things that a progressive government does. A progressive government looks at first-time homebuyers, millennials, people getting into the housing market, realizing, particularly in places like the Lower Mainland, that housing prices are so high it's almost impossible to buy that first home. And we say we create and strengthen the first-time homebuyers incentive that gives you up to 10% off the price of your first home and those mortgage payments. That's a big deal. These are the kinds of things that a progressive government does. And finally, a progressive government is focused on tackling the greatest challenge of our time, the fight against climate change. We've committed to planting 2 billion new trees over the coming 10 years. We're putting money up front so people can retrofit their homes with interest-free loans, and we're making sure that the green tech, the zero-emission technology companies that we're drawing into Canada get half off their corporate taxes, because we need the solutions they're going to create if we're going to get to zero by 2050. We also step up in our ambitious targets to make sure that our natural ecosystems, that nature can do its part in the fight against climate change by protecting 25% of our land and 25% of our oceans and coastlines by 2025. These are the things that a progressive government does. But we need to be that progressive government. Yesterday, I heard a story that one of our candidates passed along to me. She said a gentleman came up to her and confessed to her that he'd always voted conservative. He was a fiscal conservative, small business owner, and that was just what he did. He voted conservative all his life. But this election, he felt, was too important, and he chose to give his vote to his 13-year-old daughter. Because this election isn't just about the next 4 years. This election is about the next 40 years. And his daughter said, we need a real plan to fight climate change because this election is about my future. And for the first time in his life, this gentleman will be voting Liberal. This election is too important to go backwards. Nous devons de continuer à travailler ensemble avec un gouvernement fort qui va rassembler des progressistes d'un bout à l'autre de ce pays, qui vont dire nous pouvons, nous devons faire mieux et nous allons faire mieux. We need to draw together progressives from right across the country and make a conscious choice to deliver a strong progressive government, and all together we will choose forward. Merci tout le monde. Thank you.